Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new webinar. This is a new day, new topic, and we are so excited. We are here with Dina Ghobashy. She is Director of Global Education Transformation at Microsoft. I will introduce her first. Her background includes leadership roles at Intel, the French American International School in San Francisco, and Education Without Walls. And she also serves on UNESCO SDG4 High Level Steering Committee. She holds a degree from Columbia University, West Virginia University, and Cairo University. You are a big boss, Dina. How are you?
Thank you so much, Alejandro. I'm super humbled. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing really well. Like here at this time, like now I'm in Chicago. You are in SF, but yeah, really excited to see you. By the way, for all the audience, we met in Harvard conference about education and artificial intelligence, and she was a speaker there, and it was like just amazing her talk. So we are so glad that she had time to be here.
Thank you so much for having me, Alejandro. Really appreciate it. And I remember when we met a year ago, it was such a fantastic conference on AI in the global south, and it was extremely timely. So I'm glad to see that the momentum continues. Thank you.
Totally. So everything has been changing a lot also, like during the past year. It was like really fast by then. It was something like a hot topic and still it is.
Mhm.
So let's see how education also moves at different speed. So it's like really great and interesting time
Mhm.
for the mix of education and AI and new technologies.
Agreed. Agreed. We'll talk about this in my talk here in a few seconds.
Perfect. By the way, just a small comment, like we were preparing for this like some minutes ago, and it was like, by the way, where did you prepare the presentation? Like in what program? And what did you what was your answer, Dina?
I was like, are you serious? You're asking a Microsoft employee which tool do I use to prepare presentations? Come on. The one and only PowerPoint.
The super powerful, like the PowerPoint. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to share with everybody this that great moment. By the way, share your questions or comments like in the platform where you are watching this. We will have at the end 10 minutes for a Q&A. And now the stage is yours, Dina. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Alejandro. Let's take it away.
Let's go.
All right, once more, thank you so much, Alejandro, and hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with you today. Of AI in education is not just hot in the talk of the town in education these days. It's also very much personal for me. So um, maybe you know if you've seen my profile on LinkedIn or if we've interacted before, but I grew up in Egypt, and I grew up in a low to middle income family. We didn't have vacations. We didn't go on trips. My dad was always busy. He was working really hard to provide for us. Um, but my dad had one rule when I was growing up. If the ask was education related, the answer was always yes. Otherwise, I was stuck at home all school holidays, pretty much not able to go anywhere. So I learned to use that rule to my advantage. And that rule really became my skeleton key that helped me opened a lot of doors that I wasn't really supposed to walk through. So every summer when my friends would go on holidays, I would spend mine at the school library, reading every book I could get my hands on. Pages became my passport. The stories became my escape and my way to see the world. And I pushed this rule even further. I actually, when I was in third grade, I convinced my dad to take me and my siblings to see the pyramids. After all, that was learning about history, right? And then in high school, I actually tested the rule even more. I won first prize in a school competition, and the reward was to go to France. I wanted to go so bad, but I grew up in a society, Egypt, where conservative norms really dictate what a 16-year-old girl could or should do. And this was not a very simple request. So I worked on my dad for weeks, and eventually, true to his word, he said yes. Just like that, learning really took me beyond borders. I experienced new cultures, new places. For me, education was never just about school. It was my card to experience the world. It was the way for me to become independent, to choose my own path in life. I often say education gave me the freedom to spread my wings. And I'm standing and I'm talking to you here today because of that rule that my dad had. So growing up in Egypt, it wasn't just about my experience, but I was also surrounded by a lot of different students that are curious, capable, eager to learn, but they were trapped, invisible in a system that is not really helping them thrive. And I really began to believe very early on that education is about freedom, that freedom to think, to question, to choose your own path in life. And as I grew up, I started to realize that the deeper education issue is universal. This inequity, this inability for millions of students worldwide to be able to be seen, to thrive, is universal. Now, the barriers may look different from one country to another. I do realize that. But the question is not so different. Which children are actually fully seen, fully supported, and which ones are not yet given the freedom to thrive? See, I know we all talk about how education is the great equalizer, but the reality is today, for too many, it is still a barrier. It's a barrier that they may never be allowed to cross. And millions of children today are still denied opportunity. They're still underestimated. They're still made to feel either directly or indirectly that they don't belong at school, in learning, or in possibility. Because at scale, systems standardize. And when systems standardize, they often exclude because they cannot adapt to everybody. So if you think about it, really the design of education systems at its core is fundamentally flawed. And that leads us to an inevitable conclusion that the only way to move forward is that education systems need to fundamentally shift. That's why there's always been excitement about technology and education. Every time a new tool comes out, we're all excited, we're all over it. And there is a ton of hype. That's the one that's going to disrupt education because we're really waiting. We're so eager to find a solution to the inherent education challenges. We've looked to technology to help us address some of these tough challenges. But until now, most of those tools ended up actually operating within the same constraints that we are trying to overcome in education. And many students don't have my father's role. What if we could give them a different key? And I know what you may be thinking. What is that key? AI? Yes, AI. I know you're probably saying, okay, we've heard this before. Technology was supposed to improve education years ago. MOOCs were going to democratize learning. Smart boards were going to revolutionize classrooms. And for the most part, they didn't. And by the way, for the record, I was never an advocate for either technology. So why should AI be different? I'll tell you. What makes AI different is that it's a general purpose technology. It gives us the potential to actually redesign parts of the system itself so that education could finally be done with students, not for students, not to students. So when I talk about AI in education, I'm not just talking about learning tools. I'm talking about the opportunity to break cycles of exclusion and rewrite the future for millions of children around the world. And it's not going to be by replacing teachers, and it's not going to be by supporting, it's going to be by supporting overwhelmed teachers, by augmenting what they can do today, by bringing learning to places where learning doesn't exist today, and then making true personalized and mastery learning possible. All the dreams we had and haven't been realized till now. So AI adoption is like nothing we've seen before when it comes to technology. You might argue that education has always been slower to adopt new technology, and Alejandro was talking about this earlier. No matter how quickly the rest of society moves, education has always been slower. But look at this. Education, the industry long known for slow adoption, is now one of the top 3 industries adopting AI at speed. And for the first time, that adoption is not being led by institutions standardizing things. It's actually being pulled into classrooms by students themselves, by educators themselves. We have statistics that show that 93% of students and 81% of educators are already bringing their own AI to schools, often ahead of governance, security, and safeguards that are needed to use them responsibly. So let me show you what that looks like in practice. First, I want to just point out something personal here. 5 years ago, whenever I saw Waymo, if any of you hasn't seen Waymo before, these are self-driving cars that have been roaming around the streets of San Francisco, my city, for years now to learn how to drive and how to drive safely. First with humans in the car, and then without them. And now you can order them to go anywhere you want, just like you would order an Uber or a Lyft or any other rideshare service. When I first saw them about 5 years ago, I felt completely nervous. I remember thinking, why would anyone want to sit in a car with no driver? This is just suicide. What is the appeal? Today, I know it is my preferred way to get around the city. I don't order any more Ubers or Lyfts. If it's not Waymo, I'm not getting into a rideshare. I'm not sure which is more interesting, the speed at which the technology has changed to a point where these cars are now able to drive even on freeways on their own, or the speed at which I have adapted to that change. And it has become now my favorite tool. That to me is the story of AI adoption right now. At first, it feels unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable. But then as people experience it and test it and start to see it where it helps, the question changes from why would I use this to why wouldn't I? And what else can I use it for? Education is now at that same turning point. The question is not whether AI will enter education. It is already there, like I showed you. The real question is how we can move from these nervous experimentation to trusted, responsible use. And the world students are entering is also shifting because of AI. So we've got this dual interesting dynamic going on. We're seeing also new jobs emerge. The research that we do at Microsoft with the future of work is telling us that there is a number of jobs that are emerging, like AI trainers, Asian data specialists, ROI analysts, AI strategists. These are things we didn't have before, and they're crossing sectors. And AI is already transforming education, and I have proof. In EduState in Nigeria, the World Bank piloted a personal tutoring program with Copilot. For 15 years old, it was an after-school program, a simple setup. The learning gains that typically take 2 years, they were achieved in 6 weeks. And girls benefited more. I want you to sit with this number for a while, because it's not a statistic. This is a reality for a human being. A 15-year-old girl, imagine, in EduState, who was 2 years behind her peers, 6 weeks after being in this program, that gap is closed. Now her trajectories completely changed, her options have just expanded. When I first heard those results from my colleagues at World Bank, I literally danced in my office. Because that's what we've been waiting for in education for so many years. A result that is not just a marginal improvement, not a promising pilot in a report somewhere, but really a result that redefines what we think was possible. And I know, curb my enthusiasm, one study is not a revolution. I know that. But it's proof of something we didn't have proof of before, that AI can support personalized learning at speed that closes real gaps for real students. And it's not just in Nigeria that we're seeing this. Different systems around the world. In the US, Fulton County is using AI to help boost student engagement and agency in the classroom. In South Australia, the Department of Education is creating safer ways for students to explore and learn with AI while developing critical thinking skills. They did not want them to miss out on that. In Northern Ireland, the Education Authority is actually using AI to support inclusion and also reduce the teacher workload. And in Canada, we're seeing Coquitlam School District surfacing institutional insights to improve their own decision-making using AI. These are different contexts, different needs, but the signal is the same. AI is beginning to change the lived experience of education everywhere. And what those examples are showing us is that education is moving along a spectrum. Every general purpose technology follows a pattern. When electricity, which is a general purpose technology, first arrived, we used it as for light bulbs. It gained a little efficiency, made life a little bit better. But no one stopped there. Over time, electricity transformed entire industries. How we work, how we communicate, how we live. AI in education is at that kind of moment now. A lot of what we're seeing today sits on the left side of the slide. Efficiency, helping teachers save time, helping institutions run better, reducing administrative burden, all of that matters. But then we begin to move into augmentation. We don't just use AI to improve the work around learning, but we really use it to support learning more directly, to extend what teachers with systems can do. But the real opportunity is really on the right, because the real promise of AI in education is not just doing the same things faster and better, but it's really redesigning education beyond its constraints. It's moving from a system that standardizes, that's one size fits all, to one that responds and adapts. We don't want to improve the existing model. We need to reimagine what learning can be. And I just don't think we're aiming high enough today. And I get it. If we were to build that future, we really have to be honest about something. It just doesn't happen by accident. It depends on the choices that we make now. That same technology that can expand freedom can actually limit it. So the real questions are, who gets seen, who doesn't, who gets missed, who owns the learner stories, which human relationships do we want to protect, and who actually gets access to this and who is left out. These are not technical decisions. They're design decisions, they're policy decisions, they're ultimately values decisions. And security for AI is not something separate. It is part and parcel of protecting the entire education environment. And Microsoft has made a lot of commitments and put standards and frameworks in place to enable a trustworthy AI. These commitments translate into product capabilities that strengthen our security, safety, privacy, and then it also translates into safeguarding privacy, fixing hallucinations, avoiding undesirable behavior, harmful content, all of it. That responsible AI framework that you're looking at has these 6 principles at the center, and they guide everything that we do. And there are many more possibilities to use an AI to improve education. We've talked about a few with the examples from Nigeria, US, Australia, etc. But there is really a huge amount of opportunities for us to improve education with AI. The way we're seeing it inside of Microsoft now is the blueprint itself of a lot of different organizations, including education institutions, is going to change over time. We're seeing right now maybe some use of AI as an assistant to help with some tasks, like I was saying. But what is actually evolving beyond that is agents that are more safe, more specialized, that are dedicated to doing actual jobs, and that are grounded for accuracy in the context and the knowledge of the particular education system and the task that they are chartered to do. Now, these agents are going to be part of the team with the different staff and the teachers and the students to really help them with that augmentation that I was talking about. And then as things evolve, you'll see a lot of agents coordinating with themselves and the orchestrator collaborating with all of the different agents to actually deliver specific services and results to the humans that are in charge. So that's sort of our vision for how the AI is going to evolve. And if you think about, in particular, within the education world, the way the agents are going to manifest themselves, this is just an example. Think about it as a teaching assistant, a learning assistant, a course specific for a certain subject, agent that helps you plan. It could be things related to specific to mental health support, to transportation, nutrition, all of the other services that education then provides. And a similar set of agents also supporting and augmenting a lot of the work that people are doing in higher education as well. A year ago, Microsoft took a deeper look at their social impact work and realized that in this moment, with AI expansion that is growing so fast, we need to do something about K-12 education. So at this defining moment, we've actually, under the sponsorship of our Vice Chair and President, Brad Smith, we've launched a new initiative at Microsoft called Microsoft Elevate. It is focused on the benefits and challenges that will come from the economic and societal impact of the global AI transformation. So we've made a commitment to support the economic growth, to improve lives of people, schools, at work, nonprofit organizations and the organizations that support K-12, a nonprofit, to ensure that everybody benefits from the AI economy. And I'm proud to be part of Microsoft Elevate organization. We do realize that the pace of change, the way it is happening right now, presents a really massive challenge, because according to what we know, organizations can keep up with change to a certain extent, but beyond that, they really need to do a major reset. And that's the work that we are doing right now with a lot of education organizations around the world. We're asking them to slow down just a little bit. Don't rush into just deploying AI everywhere, but really sit for a moment with the problem, the challenges, the actual local context of each one of these education systems. To think about the problem, to think about the challenges and the opportunities, and then move with urgency, deliberately, having thought about the opportunities and the challenges. We urge them to design, test, learn, and then iterate, building on what already exists, instead of reinventing the wheel because of the speed of change. We do offer support around building AI strategy, given the number of AI technologies, the number of possible uses, can be really challenging to prioritize. And the question we often ask is, where do I start and how do I start? And a lot of times there is analysis paralysis. There is a pause on taking any action just because they don't know how to start in a way that is thoughtful and deliberate. So we've built this AI strategy roadmap, and we have actual workshops and approaches that we use to guide education institutions through this process. I'll also share that what matters to us in this whole AI transformation is really the people. At the heart of any transformation is people. That's what makes it successful. So with Microsoft Elevate for Educators, a program that we've launched recently, we connect educators and school leaders globally as a professional learning community that learns with and from each other, and we support them with resources also to guide their professional development and their AI in education thinking and strategy. We have similar offers for higher education as well, to support them with, to support faculty and learning with how to innovate in teaching and transform learning and equip students for the future that is happening faster than we thought. In addition, recognizing that different institutions move different speeds and have different needs, we really offer solutions that are either ready to use or platforms on which to build custom solutions at Microsoft. And I'm just going to say, what makes this moment really important is that that same technology, AI, can act like any of these, because not all AI support and AI use is equal. Some AI act like steroids. It does the work for the student. It may improve short-term performance, but it really weakens real learning. And some AI is more like sneakers. It works while the students are using it, but it doesn't really fundamentally change the way students think. And then there's the option that we should be all aiming for, the coach. That's the kind of AI that guides thinking, that builds capacity, that helps students learn how to learn. The difference is not the technology. It's how we design it, and it's how we use it. So my conclusion is AI would not decide the future of education. We will. And I often say AI, no matter how powerful, it's a tool like a pen. What we create with it is entirely up to us. So if what we write is bad, we don't blame the pen. We get better at writing. So with that, I ask you, what future will we write for the children that we serve now with AI? Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dina, for your amazing presentation. I have some questions, are really interesting. Like for example, Nigeria, like the study there, or the Elevate program. But so far, actually, we have a question from. Let me stop sharing. So good. So here I'll show you. It's from Raymond Xiong. How should educators and educational institutions think about students using AI to cheat?
Oh, that is a great question, and we've actually seen a lot of education institutions around the world shifting their thinking a little bit about this problem. At first, when AI came out, a lot of organizations, including even New York City Department of Education with about 1 million students, they turned it off. They said, no AI, it's not going to happen. And then they realized that you really can't stop it and that students are going to be using it. So whether they use it on their own terms or they're just going to be using it any way they want. I think this also reminds me of my time when I was director of academic technology working with teachers at a school. And I remember a math teacher coming to me once telling me, help me, all my kids are Googling my math questions. What do I do? So this is not a new problem with technology. Students were already going online and either getting their questions answered or copying pasting for essays, etc. So that's not a new problem. One of the things that a lot of institutions have done to address this issue even before AI was to think about assessment in a different way. How do you assess students in a way that ensures that you're assessing the actual learning, not just the outcome that the student has produced? And that's one way to overcome the issue from AI. I'll also give you an example from a dear friend of mine at Goal Academy. It's also an organization we partner with quite a bit at Microsoft. So Goal Academy, what they do about this issue is they actually say, you know what, for all assignments, we are going to indicate using traffic light colors whether this is AI acceptable, whether we allow limited AI use, or whether AI shouldn't be used at all. That way, they're given the opportunity for students to use AI, but they're given them the opportunity to use it on their watch, on their terms. My first question to my colleague at Go Academy was, well, this actually changes how teachers grade, right? I mean, this is not just about this is false, this is correct. This is about how did they use the AI. So he told me they actually have to provide the interaction, the whole script of the interaction with AI. And that's one way to ensure that the student was using AI as a thinking partner, not as give me the answer for this assignment and then copying and pasting. So then AI becomes one of the tools that are used in the process. It is not just something that's invisible to teachers. And yes, they did a lot of professional development for teachers to shift the thinking around grading to allow for a process like this to be used across the organization.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Dina. Really interesting, and I think at least related. This is a long question. I will show some part, but it's talking mainly like moi surur about your how you talk about the autonomous driving cars and how is education at the same level. But he is thinking like, I'm still struggling. Imagine what exactly the system level change and what will be worth to learn and what not. So it's like part a comment plus a thought. if I'm not reading it right, Muaz, please let me know. Write it like again. But I think it could be like good to see on your end like the things that in the educational system we need to change
Yeah.
to improve the overall system.
Yeah. It's truncated for me, so I can't see the rest of the message. But I think about this almost on a daily basis. I've been in education technology to help solve education inherent problems. That's why I do what I do. I really think to one of the slides that I shared earlier, the opportunity with AI, it is not to improve. And I think this is probably the trajectory we've been on in education for the longest time. We designed education systems at some point. They didn't exist before, right? But we've all grown into them. So to us, it feels like this is it. This is reality. It shouldn't be any other way. What we keep doing is we keep improving little by little. We keep seeing problems and we say, okay, here is how I could address this. And what ends up happening is that we continue to reinforce the design of the education system itself, right? The bell, the classrooms, the ratio, teacher students, the end of year exams, like there are just some fundamental things about how we design the system that we're not willing to kind of question today. I think for us to really have a clear opportunity is to think about if we were to build an education system for today from scratch, what would that look like? Given what we know today about what enforced with students, all of the important skills that are not necessarily subject matter has to eliminate some of these time, space, and physical constraints. We should just go back to the drawing board. When I think about Waymo, the reason why I love Waymo so much right now is it removed some of the constraints for me. The constraints that come from I'll give you just one simple example. I had to go to the airport one day and the driver wanted to stay awake because it was 5 a.m. in the morning. So she was blasting music really loud. So I was forced to choose between, staying alive because she needs to stay awake and not get into an accident, or suffering the loud music. I think there are just some things that we need to just revisit so that we can design a system that works for the moment right now.
Totally makes sense. And just follow up on that. So far, what things in the educational system do you think that are like the first things that we need to change and use AI to make it efficient, to use that are not working but are there because we designed it in
Yeah.
years ago in another reality?
Yeah. So I can't claim that I have the answers. I know what the constraints are. I honestly feel that we're going to arrive at the answer through one of two paths. One is either by going through that sort of spectrum that I showed, right? First, we get to use it to kind of improve, gain some efficiencies. Then we're going to start getting ideas about how do we do things we weren't able to do before and augment it. And every attempt, every interaction is going to open up more possibilities for us, right? Whatever is now invisible to us outside of our field of vision will become clearer. The other path that I think is going to be an interesting path is the corner cases, the niche issues in education, like out of school youth, where we're not going to, now in the age of AI, think about, well, how do we give them the old model, right? These are these are scenarios where we're going to have to think creatively using the tools of today. And I think these cases are going to give us insight into, when we solve them with AI, are going to give us insight into how could we then leverage what we learned from those to actually change the model. So that's just what I think is likely to happen.
Makes sense. Like, perfect. Good. So we have, I think, a last question. This is actually from Cameron Mirza, but couldn't link with LinkedIn. But here it is. How can we increase teacher training for AI at scale and affordable? That question is from Cameron Mirza.
Yeah, I think this is important, and it is critical, and it's a foundation. If you don't know what AI is and what it can do, and if you don't know how to use it right, it could backfire. Um, and it is also the only way to understand what AI is to actually use it, get trained on it. And a lot of people have conceptions now about what it is, but they haven't used it. So I've seen a lot of teachers who are like, "Oh, I mean, I would never do that. I would never use AI." But I'm like, have you tried it? Did you see how it could potentially help with one thing or the other? You don't have to use it for everything in your life, but what is so that training is extremely critical. What we've been doing at Microsoft, and either directly Microsoft with different governments, scaling teacher training across a lot of different countries worldwide. We've also been doing this through partnerships. A lot of the different organizations that we work with, we're looking at ways that we could actually scale AI training for teachers worldwide. We've also created a lot of resources online. We've partnered with organizations like UNESCO and others on the AI competencies for teachers, ISTE as well. We made sure that the training that we're creating is backed by the standards and competencies that those organizations have developed. We work with teacher unions around the world. We've had some partnership with the TFA. We've made a commitment to actually reach millions of teachers and users with AI training, so not just teachers, but also youth and students around the world. We're not alone. If I look at other announcements from other technology companies, many of them have done similar work as well.
Perfect. And actually, we have another question. I think that will be the last one because we're finishing the time. But well, from Raymond Cheong, another question. If learning is built into our DNA, what do you think is causing the resistance to adopt AI in the workplace?
Oh, interesting. Well, first, I'm not really sure I'm aligned on the sentence resistance to adopt AI in the workplace. Based on the research that we've been doing, we're not seeing a lot of resistance at all. Actually, like I said, AI adoption is skyrocketing. Um, if I were to maybe shift this a little bit, I would say there may not be resistance, but there may be a lag between the advancement of AI and the actual adoption. I think as human beings, we like to learn, but the cycle of learning takes time. For you to go from learning about something to learning something to actually thinking about how it could change your behavior or your task, how does it fit into your day-to-day work, and then to go from that to trying it and then to making it a regular practice. This is a cycle. And then by the time you do all of that, there are new changes coming from AI. So I think what is happening right now is maybe we're not keeping up with the pace of change. but I'm seeing the interest and I'm seeing the adoption happening. We're still quite of how do actual varies from.
I don't know if my internet is failing. Dina, are you there? Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
We're back. We run super fancy models, LLMs, changing the whole world, but still Wi-Fi is struggling with everybody. In my case, but well, Dina, I just want to thank you for your time, for your presentation. You were like last week in Oxford, also in another educational, another conference about education. So where the audience can see your presentations, or do you have like I don't know, posts, like I don't know, like how, what if they want to know more?
Yes, look, I'm guilty. I should be posting on LinkedIn a little bit more. I get a lot of ideas and I'm like, okay, for a post on LinkedIn one day, and then I don't do that. So it's one of my New Year's resolution. It's been 4 months. I'll get to it for sure. But I do have LinkedIn is the best place. I do have some posts there. Actually, the keynote from Harvard had been recorded, and it is pinned under my profile on activities on LinkedIn. So if anybody's interested to learn a little bit more about it, I dig a little bit deeper into some of the different student profiles that are excluded from learning in certain contexts. So if anybody's interested in seeing the whole video, it's right there. I think it's pinned. Yeah, that's it. You have my promise now recorded that I'll be posting more on LinkedIn.
Good. It's April, so you still have like a big part of the year to catch up with that resolution.
Thanks for your grace.
Well, thank you so much, Dina. Thank you to all the audience to connect, for great questions, for being here, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dina.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alejandro, for having me. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.